Uygur gets torn apart by this Piers Morgan panel after he is in the dead middle of a screaming, unhinged meltdown over Donald Trump. I'm Vince with Resist the Mainstream. If you enjoy our content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. Why should you subscribe? Because that way we can keep bringing you videos like this. And that said, let's start from the top. Here is Cenk Uygur's shouting match with Piers Morgan over Donald Trump, and Candace Owens and others are about to jump in and respond.
Maybe when they constantly hear on the airways people like you and Hillary Clinton and others constantly depicting Trump as an existential threat to democracy in America.
Piers, you're totally guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. Because you support Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has done 2,000 times worse, and you know it. You won't even run it on this show.
Okay.
You won't even run it on this show because Donald Trump, what he says is so much worse than anything a Democrat has ever said about him. So you won't even run it on this show. So that's it. Are you telling Donald Trump, you better shut up? You better not say any of those gross things that you always say. You know that he joked about smashing Nancy Pelosi's husband's head in with a hammer.
Yeah, and the truth
One
is,
of his
Cenk,
lunatic fans tried to murder Nancy Pelosi's husband, and he's like, it's so funny.
Here's
Do
the
you
problem.
know that when they try to murder his vice president,
Here's the problem,
he then
Cenk.
turned around and said he deserved it.
Here's the problem.
He's a psycho,
Here's
and you
the problem.
defend him every day, Piers.
Here's the problem. You have...
I'll tell you what the real problem is when you come on to a show screaming like a lunatic, and I kid you not, if you watch this entire thing, there's no context. There's no reason why Cenk is screaming or so heated. Literally, as soon as he comes on the show, he's immediately screaming like this. Your point does not come off as very convincing when you just look completely unhinged on every single interview you do. And that's kind of a common pattern here with the founder of the Young Turks. But anyways, let's keep watching this.
I have no idea what I've said about Trump when he's done these things. If you had, you wouldn't accuse me of not talking about them, because I always do.
Shut up?
Because I always do.
Are you telling him to shut up?
I want to bring in Candace Owens here. Candace, look, we're 48 hours after the latest assassination attempt, and I'm listening to another liberal who I respect. I've had Cenk on a lot on this show, absolutely losing his mind about how despicable Donald Trump is and what a threat he is and a danger and so on and so on. Exactly the kind of rhetoric that Trump has said he believes is fueling these people to try and kill him.
Before we continue this video, a word from today's sponsors over at Goldco. Time is running out to protect your savings, and that's why we here at RTM have teamed up with Goldco. They can help you safeguard and diversify your retirement with gold and silver IRAs, providing a critical shield against inflation and dollar devaluation. So don't wait. Goldco makes rolling over your 401k or IRA fast, easy, and tax penalty free. And with their expert white glove service, you can take action now, hassle free. And right now, for a limited time, you can get up to $10,000 in free silver when you open an account. So don't wait. Act now to protect your financial future at rtmgold.com. Again, that is rtmgold.com. Act now before it's too late.
What do you make of where we are with this?
What I make of all of this is that if you are going to legitimately tell people that someone is a monster, that somebody is a dictator, that somebody is literally Adolf Hitler, if you're going to tell people that this person is a constant threat, why wouldn't somebody try to eliminate that threat? That would actually be a sensible thing for somebody to do if they believe the rhetoric that is coming out of people's mouths. Now,
then
if this had happened and it was flipped,
including you, Candace.
Cenk, you just spoke for a very long
You've
time.
done
Candace finish,
10,000
please.
times worse than you know.
Control yourself.
Cenk,
you're going to have to learn how to control yourself. I know it's very difficult for you, but you just had a very long time to speak and we were quiet. I promise you can do that. You need to sit on your hands, then you should do that.
No, I don't think Cenk Uygur honestly can control himself. I mean, just look at what we've seen so far from the way he's been behaving for this entire panel, right?
As I was saying, if this situation had been reversed and I had just watched somebody try to shoot Kamala Harris, I would be definitively saying how wrong it was. I would be saying to people that despite the fact that I do not want her to be president, of course, she is not so much of a threat that she needs to be shot. They don't stop this rhetoric because they do not want these assassination attempts to stop on Donald Trump. And I want to be very clear. The circumstance that we find ourselves in the West is one of remarkable privilege. And when you're in times of remarkable privilege, it creates actually an issue of having a lot of weak men, right? Weak men are the ones that are going out here
like
proclaiming that Donald Trump is a threat, proclaiming that Donald Trump is somebody that is a dictator because they've never had real conflict in their lives. And you're about to see that example right now, the difference in the demeanor between someone like Cenk and Eric Prince, who I greatly respect, and who is somebody who has seen real conflict and understands what real threat is, right? He understands real threat. Cenk is somebody that grew up, obviously, with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never had to fight for anything in his life and has never had to put his life before somebody else's. So it's very easy for him to behave like this, to behave demonstrably like a toddler who is throwing his toys out of the pram when he doesn't get what he wants. And so he heightens his rhetoric and says, why am I not getting what I want? This man's a dictator. This man's a threat. And he's not being realistic. And it's embarrassing to our country, whether it was a person on the right or the left.
You guys haven't addressed it at all.
Cenk, I promise you are capable of control.
He wants to terminate the Constitution, so you like that?
As somebody else speaks.
Let me bring in Eric. Eric,
Brutal, just an absolutely brutal indictment of Cenk Uygur, but I can't exactly say that it's not true, right? It's completely true. And that's true of most of these leftists and progressives, hence why, the whole saying about, oh, strong men create good times create weak men, etc. Cenk's a prime example of that. Yes, this is true. And a lot of progressives, frankly, are.
you are a former Navy SEAL.
And a patient.
And a very patient former Navy SEAL, yes. When I look at what's happened here, there are lots of strands to what's going on. And we'll come to the security aspect around Trump, which I find pretty scary, actually, that twice people have, with extraordinary ease, got into positions to assassinate him in the space of 8 weeks, which I just find quite remarkable and shocking and shameful, and a disgrace that the Secret Service has allowed that to happen. But before we get to that, this whole...
They saved his life.
Well, they didn't save his life. They put him in a position where his life nearly got taken. That's the truth. I mean, because they didn't even check the perimeter.
The guy didn't even get off a shot.
They didn't even check.
Spreading conspiracy
they didn't
theories.
even check the perimeter of the golf course.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess you could give Secret Service credit that, hey, look, you saw a barrel sticking out of the bush and good call there. But it's also pretty common sense. You're on a golf course, and you're on Trump International Golf Course in Palm Beach. So it's not exactly like, oh, it was a surprise trip. No one could have expected it. Everyone knows that's where Trump is on a pretty regular basis. And given what just happened on July 13th, you should be doing extra security, right? I think regardless of whether or not America just saw an assassination attempt, you should have the perimeter secured when a regular spot that the president is golfing at, hey, you know what could happen. But even on top of that, given the context of just what happened in Pennsylvania a couple months ago, it should be common sense. And frankly, for Cenk to be defending the Secret Service and their actions here is completely ridiculous. So
he was exposed for 4 hours on that course 8 weeks after he was shot. It is unbelievable that anyone from the Secret Service would claim anything but a dismal failure of their preparation to protect the president, in my opinion. But we'll come to that. Eric, what do you make of this debate, which is raging right now, in this debate now, about the rhetoric and the responsibility of people who are on the airwaves, who are in public life, to dial down the rhetoric?
Look, like the video clip you opened with, there's an enormous amount of apocalyptic language spoken by the left, saying he must be eliminated, he is Hitler, and that unleashes every left-wing crazy to authenticate themselves by saying, I'm going to be the hero. This guy.
Notice that Cenk is shaking his head. What is he shaking his head at? Are you to say that the left doesn't say those things? Because they absolutely do. Now, if you want to have a conversation about, oh, what's the line of free speech or inciting violence? Okay, fair enough. But is Cenk just in denial that the left is saying those things? Ridiculous. And by the way, on the front of the Secret Service, I don't want to gloss over this. If Cenk is going to seriously sit there and say that the Secret Service did a good job, then he is opening the door for more assassination attempts against Donald Trump. If you're going to look at that Secret Service performance, where yes, okay, they caught him before he could get a shot off. Good job, I suppose. But you never actually secured the perimeter. We are told apparently this guy was waiting in the bush for like 12 hours or something. He was planning this out and no one managed to check on him, stop him, or secure the perimeter. Then to me, that is a pretty open admission. I'm not going to say that he's encouraging assassination attempts, but he is praising a system of security that allows assassination attempts against Trump. But it is what it is. That said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this panel in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Vince with Resist the Mainstream. Peace.